Hey, everybody. Welcome to Full Spectrum Cannabis, a.k.a. in places where we cannot use the word cannabis, the Full Spectrum Show. Here are your hosts, Calandra Revering and Lance Asher. All right, have fun, you two.
Yeah, we should have pressed record earlier. We had a lot of fun, didn't we?
We should. We always have fun.
Yeah, we might be able to find something in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fun stuff. This week, last week.
There's always fun shit going on.
Yeah, the week coming is going to be great, right? You know, who knows when this is going to be released, but really what it comes down to is whenever you're listening to it, I hope you have a great weekend, you know?
You too. And you know what I'm really excited about? I'm really excited about the descheduling of marijuana.
I hope it's a descheduling. The rescheduling is cool. But there's this movement.
I meant to say rescheduling. Yes.
Rescheduling is cool too, right?
Didn't we talk about that on the last show? The difference between
time before, maybe.
I got to have AJ cut that part out where I said deschedule. I meant to say rescheduling.
That's okay because I want it to be descheduled.
I do too.
I know you do as well,
I do.
I know the rest of the United States wants it descheduled because what happens if it gets rescheduled to 3? There's a whole lot of like fancy footwork that's going to have to happen in order for the existing structure of cannabis and medical dispensaries and recreational dispensaries in states. There's going to have to be some stuff that moves around because in Schedule 3, you need a prescription.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's plenty of states where, you know, medical marijuana is legal and recreational marijuana is not, right? But they just need to have the medical card. Well, there's plenty of places that you can just go and pay whatever the dollar amount needs to be, and you're going to have that. So that's likely what we end up creating if we leave it alone. But the legislature, Congress, the president, like, everybody that's involved, the DEA is like, not me. And I'm like, cool, that's fine. You don't have to really somebody just needed you to say something because that's like part of the process that's in place. But we don't need you, DEA. We don't need you, right? On top of that, the head of the DEA was like, I didn't sign nothing. It's like, we still don't care. I don't care if you signed anything.
Well, let me ask you this question because I just saw this, you know, last night on the news and this morning, just a huge deal about what the president is going to be doing. Do you think, because this is one of the issues that came up, do you think that this is kind of a political ploy to get more young voters and more Black voters?
Yes, and it always is, right? I mean, is it politically motivated? And you can then, step that down just step it back for 1 second and go, yes, it's always politically motivated. Because if you're planning on running again, which we know the president's planning on running again, should the president run again? I think there's a lot of us that are like, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't keep doing that. But it really comes down to options. And it's kind of always come down to options as far as the political landscape goes. Want to be reelected? All right, cool. Well, what are you going to run on, right? And if we're talking about legalization and descheduling of marijuana, completely removing it from the CSA, that's really what we need. You're going to get the voters. You're going to get the voters then, right? And there's this whole Republican and Democrat and everything like that, and you'll never know who I voted for, right? You know, I'd always ask my mom, I'd be like, who'd you vote for? And she's like, none of your fucking business. Maybe she didn't say that, but that's what I heard. Yeah. But she's always voted along not party lines, but off of, what is the actual policy? Like what is important to her, right? Women's rights. Right? I get to choose what I want to do with my own body, and every other woman that I know or don't know should be able to do the exact same thing. So voting along what that idea is and what's important to you as a human, I think is a really great way to look at it, right? And if we look at DeSantis, right? So the Florida governor kind of being a little bit of an asshat, right?
A little bit?
Right. I mean, for some folks that enjoy him, maybe I don't want to disrupt their feelings.
I don't know who enjoys him.
I don't know either, but people are listening, right? And, if you get a bunch of old folks, which there's a bunch of old folks in Florida, right?
A lot of
Snowbird or not, there's a ton of old people in Florida. I love old people, so I'm not saying anything. They're great.
Well, from what I know about you, I don't know if you love old people.
Really? But I like you. Oh, you were the one that was talking about how you're over 40.
And that's all I'm going to call it, is over 40.
Well, when you're 20 years old, somebody that's over 40 is an old person,
They're old.
Anyways, back to DeSantis running amok. He's just scaring everybody, right?
Yeah.
But yes, politically charged as far as President Biden goes in his support. I think everybody just wants something to change, and that the need, we're just moving the needle a little bit. And when we're moving the needle a little bit, then we're excited about that. But change.org and descheduling petitions, like I'm already getting stuff, right? Like sign this, sign this, sign this, sign this. And the fun thing about it is we don't need the DEA for any of this.
Right.
We don't need them. Pretty much don't need the president.
Well, one of the reasons I ask you that question, whether it's politically motivated, is it a way to get certain groups of people to vote for him, is because the issues that we have today with cannabis have been there for years.
Right,
and they were certainly there 4 years ago. Do you think that there are times where the cabinet, the presidential cabinet, gathers these issues, and they know how to deal with them to attract voters,
right,
or to please the public or please his base? Do you think that they hold onto these kind of resolutions or remedies, or kind of what do you think they hold on to them until it's close to the re-election time, was close to voting?
Yeah, probably, right? Like think about
because why couldn't we do this 2 years ago?
Well, exactly.
We could do you think that as if it would have happened a couple of years ago, as we get closer to the time to go to the polls, voters would forget about it?
Well, we forget about everything. We're busy.
Yeah.
Right?
I can barely remember yesterday.
I know. I don't remember what I even did on Monday.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, what did I do on Monday? Tuesday.
You were drinking Green Elevator. I can tell you that.
I was probably right. I drink a couple of them a day at least. And that's just my drinks that I'm drinking. Yeah. And I drink other people's drinks too.
You drink my drinks.
I drink your drinks. You still don't bring any in for me. At one point in time, it's going to happen.
Oh, shit. I still have it.
I know.
I gave you, I saw you at the event. I did give you
it was a long time ago. I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty for some more Slay. Well, think about like a probationary period at work, right? Mm-hmm. So, let's just say that you were going to be a corporate attorney, which I know there's not a big desire there. You're like, nah, right? But let's just say you're going to have a probationary period, like most employers have a probationary period. Training period, you call it whatever you want to do, but really, eyes of the law, probation is probably the best way to describe it. Mm-hmm. So let's say that probation period is 3 months, because that's a reasonable period of time for both the employer and employee. Well, you come in and you've done a lot in your career, right? So we're talking, senior, director, senior director, associate VP, whatever that middle management, higher to upper level management titles are. It's just a title anyways, right? So you go in and you want to make your mark. You want to make your mark on that organization. You want to show people that you have initiative. You want to get done what needs to get done, right? So if we look at this politically and what that campaign looks like, the campaign while you're in office, now you have to do is just retain office. Mm-hmm. But to your point, do I think so? Yes, I think so. And I think that they have something in their back pocket that they're ready to run on. They've decided what it needs to be. They need to look at the political landscape. They need to understand what their base wants. And then they need to figure out how they can pull from the other candidate or other people that are going to be running, right? You come in, you do all of the things that you need to do to get you to there, and then maybe it coasts for a year and a half, and then you're like, all right, time to get reelected, and then all the other initiatives come out. But to the point of the probationary period, you go into that organization, you get done all of you need to get done, you'd make some great changes, you save people a bunch of money, everybody's really thrilled with you, and then You're like, well, see you later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that happens in the corporate world. I think that happens in government, especially with probationary periods. But you don't really have that. Like, you're elected to office, and then there's how many ways that we can try, or other legislatures could try to oust somebody, right? Impeach, do this, do that. How well has any of that worked? I mean, we've had presidents impeached, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's a really big deal. And then you're like, yeah, but they're still there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, like in the corporate world, did you just put them on a final written warning and you're like, don't do that again?
Right.
You know, what is it that's going on there? So, Congress can do what it is that they want to do, and they can do it right now. Mm-hmm. You know, sure, if everybody just votes on party lines, then the president needs to be involved, to my knowledge. I don't remember, right? But, you know, he needs to be there in order to, like, break the tie vote.
Oh, that'd be the vice president.
A vice president,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
At least one of us knows what's supposed to be happening there. That's why it's good to have a team. Then you don't have to do it all yourself. Fuck it up all on your own, at least, you know.
You know, I've just been noticing leading up to this point,
mm-hmm.
I've been noticing, like, on the big news networks.
Right.
They've been running a lot of statistics about cannabis, about, you know, these different polls about who opposes cannabis or who doesn't use cannabis, or should cannabis be legal.
Right.
And I've been watching this and thinking, why are we seeing this? You know, and not just talking about Minnesota, national, like CNN, okay? Just a lot about cannabis. So then when I hear about rescheduling cannabis, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. They've been leading us up to this point because cannabis is a huge deal across the U.S. And I think that it will be very persuasive with voters, because I can tell you, you know, I was on the fence and I'm leaning more towards cannabis.
Yeah.
Who supports cannabis.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll lean towards who supports cannabis and who is not trying to take away women's rights.
Yeah.
That's where I am.
Yeah.
If anybody's wondering, I know nobody asked, but those are important things.
Yeah.
Right. The health of our country. I think that hits both of those, and that's important. What are we going to do with things? Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it all. I mean, that cannabis is in the conversation is great, right?
Yeah.
Because there hasn't. The more we talk about it, and the more we hear about it, it's then more likely that something's going to happen with it. And if they let the right people in the room, and they listen to the right people, not those on the right, not those on the left, but they listen to the right people, then I think we can actually make some proper decisions about what's going on. And I think at the state level, there's a bunch of states that have been doing the right thing. I read something, I don't remember where I read it, but there's only 3 states that essentially don't allow medical cannabis, right?
Wow.
Not that medical cannabis is legalized, but that 47 states are pretty much saying, well, yeah, there's medical cannabis is okay.
I know Wisconsin is one of them that does not allow even medical cannabis.
Right.
But ironically, the Republicans have put forth a proposed bill to maybe allow medical cannabis. So we'll see, this next go around what happens, and Wisconsin's right next door.
Right.
Yeah.
When you look at legalization and what can happen, right? If we look at what's going on in Florida, we look at what happened in Ohio, and I know there's plenty of people like, just don't talk about Ohio. Ohio's a mess. All right, cool.
Right.
Well, but we're going to talk about Ohio. So the voters did it, right? Like the voting public, right? Not voting public, the voters did it, because there's the voting public and then there's actually the people that voted, right? And I think that's a bit of what you might be talking about is how do we get people to show up?
Yeah.
Right. And how do we get people of color to show up to the polls? How do we get them to go out and vote and make their voice heard?
Yeah.
Right. So it's important when there's a measure that's there that matters. And that's really what it comes down to. And helping people understand that, that one vote, right, it does make a difference. It's important for you to go out and do your civil duty. If that's the only thing that you do, you don't pick up a single piece of trash walking around anywhere in the world. You don't ever pick up a piece of trash. That's fine.
Yeah.
Go vote.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't get to complain about what's going on in the world. And you definitely can't complain about what's going on in your state or what's going on in your city or the taxes that you have to pay if you don't show up. Right. So you don't go to the polls. We can go all the way down to you don't go to your council meeting. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't either. Right. But I'm saying you get to complain because, it's America. To do almost anything that you want to do, right? It's a baseless claim. It's a baseless complaint. It's you just whining if you're not doing anything about it. So if you didn't go and vote, you need to go and vote.
Yeah.
Florida, and we were talking about DeSantis and, kind of scare tactics and, everything's going to change. The world's going to end if cannabis is legalized, and you need a certain percentage of the vote in order to get done what needs to get done. And it's not 50%, it's like 60%, or it's 63%, or it's more, right? It's more than just half of the public in that state that votes needs to do. More needs to be done to change something. But if we look at Wisconsin, and I think that it's smart of the Republicans to be looking at this and going, well, we need to figure out medical, right? Okay, guys, we're not trying to figure out medical anymore.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out recreational. We're decriminalizing, which almost everybody's decriminalized. It doesn't mean that they're not still doing dumb things like pulling you over and taking your drugs when you're coming from Michigan, which, you're coming from the UP into Wisconsin all the time. They're just sitting there waiting. You could have Minnesota plates.
Okay.
You'd have Minnesota plates, and I would say if you got Minnesota plates other than Wisconsin plates, and they're waiting for you to do something, and then when they wait for you to do something, they're like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And like people probably don't even care to say anymore. They're like, "Yeah, we're just up at the dispensary." And they're like, "Oh yeah, well, federally illegal for you to have cannabis in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Just so you know, can't do that." And then they take their stuff.
They do that? I did.
They have been. Yeah. They definitely have. Like, what is it? Houghton. There's Ironton. There's Houghton. There's, a bunch of tons up in the UP.
Yeah.
That have dispensaries. And why are they right there? Why are they right there? Like, I don't know. Maybe we get as close to the border as we can, and then everybody will come over. Smart.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's why, having something in Woodbury or having something in Lake Elmo in Minnesota. No, you need to have something in Stillwater. You need to have something in Lakeland, Lakeland, Minnesota. There's tons of people who don't have any idea where Lakeland, Minnesota is, but it's pretty much cross the border and take a left.
I've been there. Okay.
From Wisconsin.
Okay. Maybe I should open up in Stillwater then.
Stillwater's tough, right? So Stillwater's tough. It'd be smart to open up somewhere near there, but Stillwater's like, we only have 2 licenses, and they're already assigned. So Stillwater is a tough place to have a dispensary. But January 2025, any of these moratoriums that are in place, any of these like silly like Woodbury, and I'm not saying that this is silly. They should get their money. Moratorium. Well, they've got a moratorium, but like Woodbury created money moratorium in a sense, right? Like how do we restrict access, right? And I'm not saying that that's what they're doing.
The place is like thousands of dollars for
$10,000.
Yes.
$10,000 in Woodbury for a license.
Woodbury.
Yeah, and so what's going to happen is once OCM is properly, it's formed, but once it's properly there and being managed properly, and it's saying that they're not being managed properly, but based off of where we are, I think there's more that we could probably be doing. But when we look at what it is, it's a $10,000 license for a dispensary, right? For full on, like once you want a marijuana dispensary, it's $10,000, which then means Woodbury can do up to 50% of that.
So Woodbury can do $5,000.
Right.
But right now, if you want to sell edibles and beverages, it's going to cost you $10,000 to get a license in the city.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, at last check, and that was some months ago.
You're absolutely right, because I remember talking to someone and just learning about this whole process. And I was looking at where to open, and I was looking at license fees, and there was one city that was $10,000, and I said, "Oh, I'm not opening up in that city."
Right.
Of course, I opened up, in the city where I live, and it was
Brooklyn Park.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it was reasonable, and dealing with the council and dealing with administration was just fine.
Right. And you had to deal with them? Because I like the place where you can just roll in and be like, I'll open.
I did. I did kind of roll in. They put me on, the list of places they had to approve, and
Sure.
it was, kind of a
They
drive-by.
actually had to approve it.
They did.
Well,
they did. It had to go before city council.
St. Paul and Minneapolis, you just roll in and you'd be like, hey.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like you just pop the shop open.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Now, this is not for marijuana. This is for hemp derived.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. But no license fees in Minneapolis to St. Paul. Right. Both of the mayors, to my knowledge, have been like, yeah, open market. Let's go. Right. Wow. We support this. We support being able to have people having access. And this was a conversation back when liquor stores couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Right. So we're talking August 2022, where liquor stores were starting to do it and then had to pull back because they were like, well, the AGD, within the law, the way that it was written, you had to write in to change the liquor law. And if you didn't change the liquor law, then there's a very restrictive list, let's call it, where all of these items are the items you can sell, and everything else, if it's not on the list, you can't sell it.
You can't sell it.
You couldn't sell limes. You couldn't sell lemons. You couldn't sell none of that shit. And liquor stores were still doing that, right? Because and the only time the AGAD comes in is because there was a complaint. Okay. Right. That's usually, they're not out just sleuthing around trying to find people doing things wrong. It's because somebody called them on you. Mm-hmm. Right. It could have been a concerned citizen. It could have been whatever, but it's usually for dumb stuff. Like they're selling T-shirts, right? You can't put in a liquor store. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's just say like McDonald's liquor. I've got a tasting at McDonald's liquor, probably coming up soon, right? It's right in South Minneapolis, right? Nice little neighborhood spot, great spot, good wine selection. So I'm going to do a tasting there, and McDonald's liquor, if they had a T-shirt in there that said anything other than McDonald's liquor on it, McDonald's liquors, and say that it says Invergrove Brewing on that T-shirt, somebody could go, well, they can't do that. And you're right, they can't, because they cannot sell any apparel that is not, branded with their name, in a sense. So somebody could call AGED and be like, well, hey, here's the deal. And then AGED is going to come in. And what they're going to do when they come in is they're going to look at it. They're going to walk in. I mean, they'll come up. They'll tell you that they're there. They're not trying to hide who they are or anything. And they'll just say, hey, I'm here because I received a complaint that you are selling T-shirts. Yeah. And you're like, what? It's like, all right, but I'm not. And he's like, well, yeah, I can see that you're not selling any T-shirts, right? It could have just been the complaint. Yeah. That it was. Or in fact, you are selling, a bunch of different brewery T-shirts, and that's not allowed. So there's all sorts of things that are just not allowed. And when you look at the beginning there, where moratorium after moratorium after moratorium, and Invergrove Brewing comes up because Invergrove Heights had a moratorium, Plymouth had a moratorium, you name it, right? Yeah. I mean, there was 20, 30 different cities that had moratoriums. And the reason why they had the moratoriums, this is getting back to the council meetings, right? The city councils aren't trying to figure it out, right? Like they're not paid usually, right? It's all volunteer work. It's city government. It's important work, right? But you're not getting paid. So you're like, all right, cool. Let's go and tackle this. Instead of, hey guys, so what we can do though, is we can just put a moratorium in effect. We can vote on it, and then we'll just let the state take care of it for us. How's that sound? They'll figure it out. Yeah. When they figure it out, then we'll do it, right? So let's go back to Invergrove Heights. We're in Invergrove Heights, and the only thing that I have to do is go to St. Paul.
It's right next door.
I can just go right there and buy all of the things. Well, how about if instead you were the Invergrove Heights Council? Sorry, I'm picking on you, Invergrove Heights Council. I don't know you guys. I'm sure you're fantastic. But just an example, why didn't you just put in a 5% cannabis tax at the city level? Because now you get to generate revenue for the city.
They don't see it like that.
Right. Well, they're not creative.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, well, I'm sure that they're not creative with these types of.
Do you think that they just don't want to have anything to do with it at all?
Yeah.
Which is why they don't want to even consider a cannabis tax. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to have anything to do with cannabis, even if it does generate revenue.
Yeah, it could. It likely is that, right? Because it's the devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that. Yeah. Devil's lettuce.
It's the devil's lettuce.
I've never heard that before.
Really?
What is devil's lettuce?
That's marijuana.
I've never heard that.
That's what they call it.
That's not what we call it in the hood.
What do you call it in the hood?
Shit.
It's been
weed, ganja.
Dank.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Green. Good. Bud. What else? What are the other ones? Put them in the comments. You know? Put them in the comments. Let's figure out all ganja, right? We said ganja, didn't we?
We said ganja.
What? I don't know. Well, we'll get some help.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we just listed off a lot of them. That's pretty good. That's really what it ends up being is there's so many creative ways of getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. We need to do better.
Yeah.
We need to do better on going from here to there and understanding. I guess, you know, sometimes even myself, you get a little too wrapped up in what something you think something needs to be, right? You're going to do all of this, and having the extra hand is better than having the extra hand and that extra hand doing it exactly the way that you needed it to be done. Anyway, so that's licensing stuff.
Do you think Minnesota's doing a little better in terms of cannabis convictions because they expunged, was it 59,000 convictions?
No. It was 57. It was more than 57,000 to be exact.
57,000.
It was 5,780 that were expunged.
5,000, not 57,000.
Sorry, 57,000. Thank you for the correction.
57,000.
The Minnesota Judicial Branch only identified 213 records that it determined were ineligible for relief. They didn't say anything as to why they were ineligible, but probably felony or something slipped in there. So these are low level, right? Yeah. Non-felony offenses, which shouldn't have been offenses in the first place. We both agree on that, I think. 3 months ahead of schedule. So that shows initiative, shows that it's important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There was work to do. They got the work done, and now they're moving on to the other stuff. Right. So there's an independent cannabis expungement board. I don't know how I got through those words. Will also review records for felony cannabis convictions that didn't qualify for automatic sealing and determine on an individual basis whether they're eligible for resentencing or expungement. That process could take several years, in quotes, the Department of Public Safety. There's 230,000 felony records that are eligible for review. And that was the piece. That was the piece of the news that I was like, holy crap, there's 230,000 felony convictions. And I don't know what it is, but I think that it was like more than an ounce is usually like, that's what I remember from back in the legacy days when I was part of the crowd. It was like, just don't have more than an ounce on you, or it was 2 ounces. I don't remember what it was, but whenever I was carrying, I didn't carry weight. And if I was carrying weight, I didn't stop anywhere. I was going from point A to point B. That's all that was going on. There wasn't bio breaks. It was, you were on the road. You were doing everything you were supposed to be doing. You were not doing the speed limit. You were doing 4 miles per hour over the speed limit. You were making sure you checked every single one of your blind spots. And by the way, your blind spot includes the on-ramp, right? Like the on-ramp is your most important blind spot. You're like, oh, I'm driving in the right lane and I'm in Wisconsin heading down 94 to Menominee. And you're looking over here to make sure that there's not a state trooper sitting on that on-ramp or just coming onto that. They're always around, right?
Looking for one time. That's what we call them. There's one time.
One time?
That's what we call them.
One time?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. It's only going to take one time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It only takes one time.
Yeah. So like when we're driving on the highway or even, down the street, and they're just the police are just posted up.
Yep.
And they're just looking, they might be, clocking you or something.
Yep.
You tell the other person one time. That's all you say. One time.
One time.
One time. That means police are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what the white people say?
What do they say?
Popos.
We call them popos.
I know, but one time, I like one time better.
Yeah.
One time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different, right? Because I get pulled over.
Yeah.
It's different than when you get pulled over.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is a lot more concern and a lot more worry if you get pulled over than if I get pulled over.
Yeah.
Right?
And what we tell our children is different.
Mm-hmm.
I have a black son.
Right.
So what I'm going to tell my son is much different than what you're going to tell your kids about interaction with the police.
Right. Be polite is what I said.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do too. Just, do what they tell you to do. But, in the black community, we know that that's not enough.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, you probably, a lot of the time you're getting pulled over for a driving while black.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why one time is one time. It's all it takes is what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah. Just look at how many men have been killed and women have been killed, just after or during a traffic stop.
Right.
Shit
can get out of hand. It can get out of hand really fast.
It can. And there's a myriad of situations where a person can get killed, particularly a black person. Mm-hmm. Even when the police officer says they think that they are using a taser and it's a gun.
Right.
And my take on that situation with Dante Wright, when he was killed in Brooklyn Center by former officer Kimberly Potter, now convicted murderer Kimberly Potter.
Right.
I didn't buy her excuse, and that's what I call it, an excuse. I did not buy her excuse that she thought she was grabbing her taser. My take is that you can be so used to doing something that it becomes second nature.
Right.
And what I mean by that is you can become so used to pulling your gun on black people that that's what you naturally do.
Sure.
And she was training another officer. And I think that it's a very likely excuse that she was going to pull her taser because that's what you would show in training.
Yeah.
But if you're used to pulling your gun, that's what you will continue to do.
Right.
And I think that that's something that was second nature to her.
Learned behavior, right?
Most definitely.
I mean, you can train and train and train and train and train and train. And that's the whole reason why you train.
Yeah.
Is so that bad shit doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? We all are still at the end of the day. We're all still humans. And every one of us still makes all of those mistakes, right? We make some really, there's some folks, that scenario, that's a really, really bad mistake, right?
Yeah. I think that when she was supposed to be doing the right thing,
right,
it didn't happen because she was so accustomed to doing the wrong thing.
Right.
And in the moment where she needed to do the right thing, it didn't happen. But I think that is a good indicator of, it really showed the public, on top of what happened with George Floyd, how we are treated. There was a time, years and years, where there weren't cameras in the squad car or body cams.
Right.
And no one believed what we were saying. No one believed that, I'm being taken out of my car because they are saying my car smells like marijuana.
Right.
And there are many times where it didn't. But, we have body cams now. We don't have the body smells. But, it's a good thing that now we don't necessarily need it.
Right.
It's fine if your car smells like weed. Maybe it's on your clothes or something.
Right.
But you can even transport a little bit, in your car.
Right.
So it's great that we have
2 ounces,
that now.
right?
2 ounces.
Yeah, I think it's 2 ounces, and I can gift you that amount, and that's the reason why I should be able to drive it in my vehicle.
Yeah. Well, the next show, I'll be looking for you to gift me my weed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we talked about gifting the beverages. That still hasn't happened. So
I will.
I'll bring you. I'll bring you a pre-roll of some homegrown. You know what I mean?
I will definitely have to take care of you.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. I don't know. Have you tried Mike Tyson's pre-rolls?
I did.
Rolling paper.
Yeah. What is it? Futurola.
Yeah.
I think it's Futurola.
Yeah.
Futurola, or I don't know. But did you know that his edibles are ears and there's a bite out of them?
And they taste very good.
Do they? I haven't had them.
Yeah.
I just heard about let's get back to the pre-roll.
There's 2 or 3 flavors. Yeah.
2 or 3 flavors. What kind of flavors? Since we're on it.
It's strawberry. You see a strawberry fruit punch.
Sure. Easy one.
Yeah. There's a green.
There's a green
apple.
It's green in color, green apple. Okay.
Yeah.
Green isn't a flavor.
Green isn't the flavor.
Yeah, green's in the flavor.
Yep.
And then there's, I don't think it's lemon. You've got the true lemonade edibles. And there's one other flavor.
Okay.
But yeah,
but
they taste good.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Even with do you feel cheated that there is a bite out of your gummy ear already? Or is it like, all right, they made the molds like that, so we don't feel cheated?
They made the molds that.
That's just branding.
It's just branding.
Okay.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
What about the pre-roll? Have you ever had the pre-roll?
Okay, so here's the thing with the pre-roll. So you'll get these wraps,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I tell you, you get high just smelling the wrap.
Really?
Yes. Then, you can put your weed in it. And, I'm not a grass smoker.
Right.
My husband is. But that wrap, oh my gosh, it almost had me down on my ass.
Was it so they have a brown paper
Yes.
one, and I haven't smelled those. I got the the bleached white ones because I wanted to compare them to the most recent pre-roll that I had, right? Like there's raw pre-rolls and things like that out there. And I don't really like the taste of raw pre-rolls. And I haven't had the one that you're talking about, but I've had just the regular white paper pre-roll from Futurola. And what I didn't like about that one was it didn't burn as consistently. I got a little spoiled with Lavish Papers, right? Like Lavish Papers is the pre-roll that I was talking about. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it was just the consistency in which I packed the pre-roll. Could have been my fault, but I'm going to blame the paper, right? I'm going to blame the Futurola pre-roll because every time that I've done a pre-roll, which has been, 3 probably within the last couple of weeks from Lavish Papers, it burns evenly. It burns consistently. It's just nice. It's
Lavish
nice.
pre-roll.
Yeah. Lavish. I'll bring you some in. I got like a box of them at home just so that I can give them like, I want to, like cool people, like I'll get you one, right? But they're anodized aluminum, they're green, they're Dube tubes, right? Like a lot of people run around with the plastic Dube tube that they got from the store, right? It's like, I understand, reduce, reuse, recycle, all those. You don't have to. You don't have to use the dispensary pre-roll container to carry your shit around, right? Like that is not scent proof, and anodized aluminum is scent proof, and it's just this like fire green color. It's a beautiful green. It says green elevator on it. You can even
have those?
I have them.
Okay.
Right. They're lovely.
All right.
Just lovely. You can bang them on the table. They make noise.
Really?
Yeah. The plastic doesn't make that same kind of noise.
And there's scent proof.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a little gasket in there and everything.
What?
Yeah. You can smoke your pre-roll. Not that you should do this, right? It's kind of like, I know I describe it as, it brings me back to like, you'd smoke half a cigarette and then you'd watch somebody smoke half of a cigarette and put it back in their pack of cigarettes. Dirty people do. You should not do that, right? Dirty people do that.
That is so gross.
Because you just messed up the whole pack, right? Like if somebody, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but if somebody did that to my pack of cigarettes, I'm going to be like, you owe me $12.
Pissed. I don't smoke at all, and I'm already pissed. Just hearing that.
Okay, so back to the Dube tube. So the Dube tube, you can put your dirty joint back in there, your half smoking pre-roll back in there, right? because you're just smoking later. Yeah, right, fine. You don't even have to wash this thing out, right? I mean, you should have a couple of Dube tubes anyways if you're going to travel and why not roll at home, right? Or pack your pre-roll at home and then you go and then you smoke when you want to smoke. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to smoke the whole thing, and then you can put it back in there. But when you go and get back home, then all you got to do is just open that thing up. You open that thing back up, as long as that dirty joint isn't still in there, you've smoked it before you finished it, then it's just going to air out. You can go ahead and smell that thing probably the next day.
Yeah. And
you're going to be fine. It's going to not smell like that half smoked joint. Might take 2 days. I don't know. I haven't tested it like that stringently. Anyway, so that's my data point.
I don't know if I believe you. I think you've tried it. You've tested?
Well, I have tested it, but I just can't remember. The one day, I'm not too sure on the one day that the smell's going to go away.
You were too high. You just don't remember.
I'm high all the time. So,
I don't know if I believe that.
I mean, I ingest a decent amount of cannabinoids. Am I high? Okay. Right? Like I take 10 milligrams of CBD in the morning.
Why?
Because I do whatever I want to do all day. If I want to drink 2 of these, if I want to drink 3 of these, if I want to drink 4 of these, as long as it's, it's not like I'm going to be driving around or something like that, I can, and I'm not hitting that. I'm not riding those mountaintops in a sense, like that anxiety or that paranoia that THC can sometimes bring in, which is for almost everybody. It happens. Yeah. It balances it out, right? It gives me a base. When we think about college, right? Or, when we were in our 20s and we're like, we're going to go out. And it's like, all right, cool. We got to go and we got to get my base. We got to go get our base. So you'd go and you'd eat and you'd do all of those things because you're going to be out and just rowdy all night. You don't want to be too hungover in the morning. And as long as you get a good greasy base in your stomach, then you're probably going to be able to do that. So I look at the CBD in the morning, not only just for like, kind of providing a little bit more calm to my day, right? Some of us wound a little tight sometimes. That helps for sure. And then it'll allow for me to ingest the way that I would like to ingest, right? Like the THC percentages in the cannabis these days in comparison to what it was before, like the genetics and the crossbreeding and breeding and all of the fun stuff that everybody's doing out there. And you're getting 27% THC. Like that's going to cause some paranoia and some anxiety and some end users, let's say. Some people that want to be enjoying the plant are now not enjoying the plant. I'll pack a pre-roll and I'll smoke it like a cigar in a sense, right? Like some people might look at that as wasteful, but again, we're not in our 20s anymore. We're like, you got to get like all of it. People had roach. I know people still have roach clips and everything, but like we had
roach. It started out with like a clip and a feather, right?
Yeah.
And then it turned into the roach.
Yeah. And then we got more professional about it somehow. But yeah, we were just using the things that we had. And then specific things like Dube tubes exist now. So it just helps me. It helps me through my day. And if I want, like I can inhale an eighth to a quarter of a pre-roll and not be out of my mind. And I think that number one, because I have a little bit more fun with cannabinoids, right? But then also that balance of CBD and, having that as your base.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to be for some of those folks. They're like, I really want to calm down. I really want to like have a little bit of a fun time. And I'm going to do it for an hour and a half. Right. Then it's perfect. You drink one of these bad boys, you drink one of yours, you're ready to go. You don't need a base for any of that. You don't need CBD in there. But the benefits that all of these cannabinoids can bring us that are not THC.
Yeah.
When I was taking some CBD, but way back in the day, and it just made me tired. Just made me tired.
I don't like CBD. It gives me a headache.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd rather have the THC.
Right.
Yeah. Or the mushrooms. But it's something about CBD. It gives me just an awful headache. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
but
we're going to have to test some of that.
We are. But, I will tell you on a positive note, it looks like we can get seeds in the ground now for growing. Yeah.
Who said?
Yeah. So it was in the paper, even yesterday's paper, that lawmakers have made a way for cultivators to get started now.
Okay.
Social equity applicants
Mhm.
will only be allowed to enter into the pool, the lottery pool,
Sure.
and they will be able to start growing.
When?
Um,
Tell me it's 2 weeks from now.
well, I believe the application deadline will be by July 17th.
Not soon enough. It's not soon enough. So
Not
we
soon
have
enough?
this beautiful outdoor growing
This is
season
the growing season
that
right now.
we don't get to take advantage of if it's July.
Well, I
That's
just know that's the application deadline. I'm sure there will be
I'm
applications.
talking to you like you did it.
Of course you are.
My apologies.
I'm just glad I'm glad
You're
we're
just delivering
see.
some information.
That's it. I'm just glad we're gonna get seeds in the ground.
That's
We'll have some marijuana, to
Someday.
sell.
Well,
Someday.
I mean, so if we think about the 17th, well, whatever, mid-July, right? If we think about mid-July, and it'll be an indoor grow mid-July, if you were to even start right then. But let's say, everything takes time for it to happen. So you get awarded lottery, everything like that. People are prepping. They got to get whatever needed. They just call it another month, right? So by the time the state fair is happening, you could put seeds in the ground. If you're putting seeds in the ground mid-August, right? Then you've got September, October, November, right? So three proper months for your grow, one proper month to cure, right? So September, October, November, December. Oh, so January 2025, when they say, hey, we should be able to do some things. We need to have some Minnesota grown cannabis. The positive thing is we might have some Minnesota grown cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can tell you we have seen an increase in seed sales in the past few
At
weeks.
your dispensary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we sell premium seeds, regular seeds, CBD, CBG, CBN, but we've seen a huge increase. And what we've also decided to start doing is we're going to start selling these really cool grow kits.
Yeah.
Like it's got the pot, it's got the, just the whole little kind of soil section. I mean, so you can
It's like
grow
Rachel
your
Ray
shit.
making some dinner.
Yeah.
One pot meal
Yeah.
kind of action.
Yeah.
But this is one pot.
This is one pot.
Yeah.
Like hamburger helper, all the shit in one box.
Yeah, but
Do you remember hamburger helper?
But the hamburger's not in there, so it's not. I don't think it counts.
No, it doesn't. Because you got to add the hamburger. This is like everything there in one like cute little pot.
It's all set up.
It's all set up so you can come in and.
Does the tent pop up and shit?
No,
you got to buy the tent.
You got to buy the tent, but if you
are you gonna have tents? You have room. You only need one. You only need one, and then you can drop. You just have them in the back, and you only need one of them out there. Be like, I can get you this size, I can get you this size, I can get you this size.
Well, I can tell you, I can't grow shit.
Well, you don't have to.
I don't have a green thumb, but I am going to try to, grow at home and see how that goes. I'm not too optimistic because pretty much everything I try to grow kind of dies.
Yeah. Put it outside.
Well, then the deer in my neighborhood will be high. Yeah. The deer and the rabbits.
Do deer process the same as dogs do?
I don't know, but I know we've got a lot of animals where we live, a lot of wild animals, and the whole neighborhood will be high if I grow outside. They love eating my tomatoes when I would try to grow tomatoes, and that's the other reason they can't last because they come eat all my shit. They eat all my shit. Yeah, they do.
All right,
they do. So it's
seeds.
Yes,
seeds is good.
Yes.
All right. So we've had some fun.
Okay.
Let's check a couple of other things that we have going on.
Check the box.
So Ohio lawmakers, speaking of like seeds in the ground, right? So Ohio lawmakers, again, they're trying to figure it out after the fact, after the voters said, hey, this is what we're doing. Yes. And they're like, oh, shit. And that's why it's again smart for Wisconsin and other states to do what Minnesota did because nobody wants to be out of control.
Right.
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 And so if you're not Ohio, then you don't have to figure it out after the fact.
Right.
And if you're Wisconsin, if there's an initiative in order to get this crap on the ballot, they're going to vote for cannabis. So then you got to figure it all out and you got to put it all together, and it's legal, but there's nowhere to get it. And I don't know, there's a whole bunch around it. So what they're going to do is they're creating a licensing scheme that could allow adult use sales to launch next month. Right.
What?
In current medical cannabis dispensaries. And I know we don't like that because the medical cannabis dispensaries that we have are MSOs.
Yeah.
Right. Not a bad thing if you're a good operator, but also everybody wants to keep it as local as you possibly can. Right.
Yeah. And the way the bill has since been revised, we've kind of taken out the medical portion of cannabis. And it's all, in other words, it's all been pretty much merged into recreational.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about the medical marijuana MSOs dominating the MSOs industry.
I think that that's a creative path for Ohio, right? Like, how do we do it? There's already people that are doing this.
Yeah.
It's available in the sense that we can grow ourselves, right? There's a whole argument. Have you seen the argument? There's a whole argument around, well, we grow on our land. We can sell.
I haven't seen that argument.
Yeah. So it's out there. It's a fun one.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. It'd be like, well, if I brewed my own beer at home, then I can sell it. And it's like, no, technically you can't do that. But we'll see how this all shakes out. I think this is it's a path, right, to something. Minnesota could do something like that. Like we've talked before about how there's already a whole bunch of people that are growing hemp.
Yeah.
And
it is.
All you have to do is go, yes, you can. And then, boop, they're growing a bunch of marijuana too.
Yeah.
It'd be just fine.
Yeah.
There's already people doing it. It's outside. Beautiful, beautiful outdoor hemp plants.
Yeah. We have a great hemp provider.
Right.
Angela Dawson owns 40 acres.
40 acres.
Yeah.
Should call it 40 acres.
It's called 40 acres. She's the only Black woman in the state with a hemp farm.
Well, that's fantastic. And makes sense to partner, right?
And and the shit is good. Like you
have you smoked it?
I have not smoked it. It's just that so for our beverage,
some of her hemp flower just to see. It'll calm you right down. That old hemp flower.
It does. Well, we were just very specific when we create this beverage that we wanted a Black person to create the water soluble.
Right.
So the hemp comes from her farm. It's then sent to Todd Harris in Chicago to his company, and then it's sent back here to go into our beverage. And you can taste the difference. It's very smooth, and it definitely relaxes you. So it makes a difference where you get your hemp from. All hemp isn't alike.
No, definitely isn't. I mean, we can think number one, particle size. Number two, experience, right? And experience is based off of your bioavailability, and it's based off of the particle size. And it's, there's a lot of different factors that come into play with it. And you will like the products that you like. Yeah. And it's likely going to be tied to the experience. And when we're talking about experience, we're not just talking about the experience of the cannabinoids, right? We're talking about the experience from looking at it on the shelf to having it into your hand to cracking it open to getting a nose on it to understanding like, well, what does the mouth feel? Okay, great. This tastes good.
How does it make you feel?
How's my belly feel?
Yes.
How did it process through my system? Yeah. And then how does my body and head feel?
Yeah, because there's so many people who have bad experiences with cannabis and they never want to try it again.
Right.
Or they will tell other people, how it's bad, but they're really skeptical about trying. And I don't want anybody to be, resistant to trying cannabis, even if it's microdosing.
Right.
Just a little bit, see how it makes you feel. But we get so many people who say, I had a really bad experience when I was in my 20s.
Right.
And I'll never do it again.
Right.
Or, they eat some brownies and shit at a party and it will fuck you up.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's why you need good proprietors, right?
Yeah.
You need people out there doing the right thing. Just look for the nice stuff. If you look for the nice stuff, probably the people paid attention throughout the whole process. And I'm not saying that people aren't paying attention. I'm just saying the attention to detail is within the product itself. You can see it on the label. You can see it on the can. You can see it in the experience. Yeah. We want you to have the best experience as possible. Okay.
And take it slow.
One more bit of news.
Okay.
This is a biggie.
I think we're getting the Hawaiian time.
We're getting close.
Yeah.
Did you say Hawaiian time?
Hawaiian time.
You're on Hawaiian time?
Yeah.
What is, I'm on Hawaiian?
No, I'm on Hawaiian time.
He's on Hawaiian time.
You guys are on
You're on summertime.
You're on a whole different time plane than most of the rest of us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we are. Let me see how much is left. I got about a quarter of this left.
I know a lot more about Dube tubes than I ever thought I would.
Dube tube. Dube tube. Right. If you comment Dube tube on this video, somebody's gonna get a Dube tube.
That's right.
So we'll do a little giveaway. Okay. And all you have to do is comment Dube tube, and you're entered.
Yeah. So the next one, he'll comment Dube tube, or
the listeners.
Yeah. So he'll.
I'm not entered.
No.
He probably is.
No, we know a listener's going to get a gift.
Yeah.
And then all he has to do is say Dube tube, and the next one we'll say who's going to get the gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I see where you went with that.
Yeah.
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 That's it.
Calander's putting together the plan.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we'll figure
on the
it
fly.
Out. On the fly.
And give him some sleigh beverage too. Dube tube.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Beverage.
We'll wait.
You sure?
Yeah.
We can have more giveaways. I like the
I think the next one we'll do some sleigh beverage.
I think you've just figured something out. We will hide in all of our future shows something that they have to put in the comments to be entered into a drawing.
It's a fantastic
for a prize.
Yes.
I like that.
Exactly.
A little Easter egg in there.
You guys, we're just trying to have some fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is. We want to be informative. We want to be educational. We want to have some fun.
Yeah. So the next session, let's touch on sports betting, because that is on the legislative floor today. So I can't wait to talk about that.
Sports betting.
Yeah.
And Lance, you had one last thing you wanted to bring up?
I do.
Of course he does.
I always do. Right. This is a fun one. Senator Jeb Bradley said in an interview with WMUR that aired on, this a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, something like that, that marijuana is going to rise or fall on its own merits. I think there are significant problems in legalizing marijuana, health problems and mental health problems that are increasingly becoming documented. Now, increasingly becoming documented is one hell of a bullshit sentence.
Yeah.
Because I can look at whatever data points I want to look at, and I get to sell to you what data point I want, right? You give me some numbers. I'll sell you some shit on why those numbers are great for you in this way, right? You can look at those numbers and then sell to Sam something completely different.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, noted bullshit. He also says, I don't think any state should invite the black market into their state for marijuana, and that's what will happen.
It's already there.
That's some sort of serious lack of understanding of how anything works.
Isn't that great?
How do you invite the black market?
Great. And look, I say that as somebody that was the architect of the compromise to decriminalize marijuana. You should have in the first place. I don't care if you architected shit. Okay, stop it. This is unbelievable. But a step too far is a step too far, and that's what I think marijuana is.
Who is this person?
Well, he was on
New Hampshire.
He was on Wilmer. You said it was on the Wilmer station.
It was Wilmer. It was Wilmer, which is a New Hampshire local somebody affiliate.
But it sounds important.
So nobody's listening.
No, it's probably on a Sunday morning when they talk about all the other political shit.
Black market means.
I don't think it might as well called it a gray market at this rate.
Well.
Here's another nod back to states that don't just New Hampshire, right? All right, cool. Wisconsin. It's going to do something about this, or you're going to let somebody else do something about it, and then you're going to have to put framework together after. So he'd rather the bill die Nevertheless, obligation to adjust the proposal to address his concerns in the case that it does pass, right? So for this legislation bill, he wants it to die, but if it doesn't, and he's got to deal with it, then he's going to deal with it in the best way that he can. He's being ultra positive. So keeping the black market out, making sure the regulatory process is tight, making sure that there is a THC limit on the products that can be sold, and making sure that big marijuana, the same as big tobacco, is not dominating the politics of the state house. To me, that's really important if it's going to pass.
Who voted for this guy?
Holy, what is this?
What is big marijuana?
This isn't even all of it. This is just what I thought was. This is just what I thought was interesting about it, right? I think that his head's stuck somewhere. But to my point previously, black market, weird. It's already there. You're not going to keep it out. It's been there for how long? Making sure the cartels are not running the black market or the legal market is probably more important.
Are interested in ganja.
They are, in Oklahoma especially. And
it sounds like you can get weed everywhere in Oklahoma right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's
everywhere, like Colorado. It's everywhere so much that businesses aren't really making any money.
It's the farm stand, it's the farm stand on the county road. You're just rolling down, and instead of buying corn, you're buying flour.
Yeah. Buying
so anyways, goofy stuff that elected people say is probably what we should call a little segment like that.
I think so. So the next session, we will talk about goofy stuff that
elected officials,
I have no doubt.
Say. I love it.
Well, we might repeat it this
I love
time
it.
Next
I love it. Let's do it.
Time after that, because when it's important, we're going to talk about it.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, if we think it's important too, then we'll talk about it.
Perfect.
But if you think it's important, you want us to talk about it, let us know in the comments, which, if you're just listening to the end of this, you need to rewind the tape. I know you're not listening to this on a tape, but rewind the tape so you can understand what you have to say in the comments.
Perfect.
In order to.
Yeah. You know how I know you're old?
How? Rewind
the tape.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the fact that he called it the tape.
In fact, we used to have to flip our tapes.
Woo.
They didn't even just go and play.
And that was before CDs, when you had the portable CD player and
Yeah. Now my kid is collecting DVDs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Collecting DVDs. And my daughter was like, CDs are awesome. And I'm like, what is going on? Pretty soon we're going to have CD changers and shit back in our cars.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. It's not going to happen. The best thing about it? It was always in the trunk too. What are you doing? It's winter. You got 6 CDs in there. That's why you had 10 disc CDs. Do you remember Laserdisc?
This is awesome. That's how you know we're at the end of the show. He's talking about disc.
All right. I'm about to call it.
Call it.
Oh, here we go.
Thanks for watching Full Spectrum Cannabis.
Yeah.
All right.
See you next week.
Next week.
Cheers.
Dube.
Cheers.
Dube.